Well, hello there, and welcome back to the Cozy Club, my friends. We've got yet another Disney Sorcerers Arena video for you today, and what we're going to be talking about is character refreshes and character reworks. You see, we're moving on to about a year and a half into the game now, and those early kits that were there upon release are starting to look pretty dang dated when you compare them to the likes of The Rock or Tiana that have kits that are just insane. And so on today's video, I'm going to be talking about the top character refreshes that I want to see within the game. They're putting them out at a pretty good pace, but there's some characters that are desperately missing an identity in a role, and there's some iconic characters that definitely need to get buffed up. Now, we've talked about this before way back about a year ago, and all of those characters, they've had refreshes. We've got amazing characters like Pocahontas when she came out in the game, and for those that weren't here when the game launched, Pocahontas was just complete trash. Terrible character. Nobody used her. And then, come early January, they gave the Wilds a refresh along with Baloo. And Pocahontas got a whole lot better. They gave her an identity as this healer support that can plug and play into so many different teams. She had a great leadership, and altogether definitely gave that identity to a somewhat pretty important iconic Disney character. But on the flip side of things, you've got reworks like Yzma, who didn't do much to change her viability within the game. So there's refreshes that really boost up a character, and then there's ones that you barely even noticed was there. Dr. Facilier was the latest character to get a refresh, and I think what they're getting better at is really kind of honing in on what that character is within their movie and then making a kit that complements that. And so today, we're going to be looking at the tier list that I just created and look at some of the lower ranked characters that need a buff. I know in the past, they've done characters that are already pretty good and then they make them even better, like Dr. Facilier, but my focus today is characters that have no chance of being played, no shot in being in your roster, and a lot of them are really iconic. So with all that being said, we're going to jump into today's video, but the question of the day, and we asked it, I think, not too long ago, I'm losing track, but what character deserves a refresh in your eyes that we did not hit on this list? Either post now before you watch it, or go and check out the video and then post a comment. What character, whether they're pretty good or just trash, need a bit of a bump up to really resonate with the fan base behind them? Because after all, it's a Disney game and a lot of people play competitively, but the other half, it's all about collecting the characters. And let's face it, we all enjoy collecting, but some of these characters, they've got a lot of dust. So much dust that you don't even know who's underneath, and then you're like, oh, look, it's Jessie from Toy Story. So a lot of characters to talk about today. Let's jump into it. All right, Cozy Club. Well, I thought we've got to start this list off with some bangers, and we've got to start with the Lion King trio. Now, at the moment, we don't have Timon, Pumbaa, or even Nala, but right now we do have Scar, Simba, and Rafiki. And what else can I say except these characters are just completely irrelevant for the most part. You know, Simba's got some cool defense mechanics with his health, and Scar's got the hyenas that look extremely dated if you look at Proxima and some of the newer summons, and Rafiki just kind of exists within the game. I know that Summoner Showdown has brought some light to these characters, and that is honestly what inspired me to make today's video, and we're going to start with the Lion King trio. Now, again, I have an idea of what I would theorycraft with this kind of faction and what I would do with the Lion King characters, and as I said before, it takes new characters typically to bring the refreshes to the old ones. Some are very noticeably outdated like Rafiki, but I think with Nala, maybe Pumbaa, Timon, and heck, a Mufasa leadership, or just a wild lead that could really amplify the faction altogether, they're not far from being pretty solid. This is a good case of a character that's in the B, kind of B plus range, but they could easily skyrocket from like that B range all the way up to the A plus range with like a few little tweaks. So my idea with this, they don't have any synergy outside a little bit of an assist and like defense up on Simba one time. What I'd like to see is, with them already assisting each other so much, let's go ahead and amplify that. Let's have the Pride fight together, have Rafiki assist all of the time, amp up both of these abilities, get maybe a full cure for a lot of the team. Scar, we've talked about it. He's like just a tinge away from being really solid. His passive is already great for Long Live the King. If you amplify those hyenas, it will feel like that character has his identity, right? He'll have the hyenas behind him, maybe really amplify the numbers of them, or at least the stats, and kind of get them going, because As I've said before, right now, they die a little bit too easy. He's not far off. Simba is in a weird place with how defense is in the game, but great turn meter reduction. And then Rafiki would just require a complete refresh to really bring that character's role out more. I'll ask this with all of these, but what's your opinion? What would you do with the Lion King faction? Alrighty, next up is everybody's favorite superheroes, The Incredibles. Both great movies, and I think are very underrated in like the Disney character sphere. Really solid. Definitely want them to get a rework, guys. If you don't know, this was actually the first new characters within the game. When it launched, you had like Ian and Barley come out, and then The Incredibles was that next kind of group and faction to come out. And at the time, I have a video from way back when, but they defined synergy. They really brought a lot of synergy, and again, at the time, it was pretty solid what they did. But at the moment, it's definitely been dated. You know, I don't know where to start because they are the superheroes, right? They're wearing the red spandex. You got red spandex on and you still aren't great within the game. I mean, there's a misconnect there, right? They defined synergy when they came out, like I said, and nowadays there's just not enough there for survivability and or just the buffs that are out in the game right now to compete. You know, you have Dash, who is the shining star of the Incredibles, but his damage and constant turn meter gain is actually a big con now. You know, I feel like they created Dash and he was too good, right? And they didn't know what to do with that, and that's kind of how we've evolved into Hero Hamada and now all this turn meter meta through the legendaries. So you don't really have to touch him all too much. But if we look at some of the other heroes here, take Violet, for example. She's like the shield master. I would love to see a big support refresh for Violet other than giving some kind of measly shields out there. Really cool character, and you know, you've got all the pieces and the tools there. Want to see her get buffed up a ton. Next up is the big papa of the family, and Mr. Incredible. He was once like the taunt god. You could not get past him, and nowadays he's definitely not even a tank option, and really he is all about synergy, but he doesn't have the characters to synergize with. It kind of feels like they were strictly made to all be together, which makes sense, but then you've got characters like Tiana that excels with the princesses, but she's a better plug and play all over the board. So I would like for them to have some plug and play ability. Jack is almost there. Like everything's kind of perfect with him. Maybe adjust the stats a tinge, but I kind of like what Jack does. You know, maybe if they mess with the leaderships with Bob and with Miss Incredible, I think that will probably get the job done. Miss Incredible, if you guys don't know, some of the highest offense within the game. Really solid character. Moveset is highly outdated. Don't mind a big single target attack character, but would like to see them all assist and kind of help each other with their passives to an amplified degree. That or just add some updated harmful and helpful effects to give them more identity within the common game. And then we've got Syndrome and Frozone. Again, I said this on an early video, but I don't know what these kind of games have against Samuel L. Jackson. He's just not, like, he's got some of the most creativity you could put behind a character's kit, and it just hasn't been there. You've got all these slow mechanics. You have Ice Block, Snow Slow. I mean, the guy is just riddled with cool abilities, and let's see it. Let's see the slow. Let's see the ice come into effect. Let's see some new, maybe harmful effects out there. Frozone has the ability and the possibility to be such a cool character within the game, maybe putting up some ice defense walls and playing a different part than the core Incredible family. I would love to see Frozone get touched up. He's at the top of my list out of all of them, with probably Bob, Violet, and then Elastigirl being after that. All right, now I did hint about this one at the beginning of the video, and it does look like I'm just picking the biggest names of Disney, but to be fair, these are the biggest names in Disney, and they're not great within the game. Now, there's plenty of characters like the Horn King, or, you know, like we talked about, you could have the Queen of Hearts, but Alice in Wonderland is going to solve her issue. You know, Sully, you're going to have Monsters Inc. come out. That's going to solve his issue. I want to talk about the characters that might not see more characters in the game for a while and are much deserving of a refresh. So, Toy Story naturally has to be on the list. You know, Zurg, great character. Lotso, you know, he has his uses, and Big Baby. It's more of the core characters that you guys see on this overlay right now. Buzz, Woody, and Jesse. Now, it's just an absolute crime that they're terrible in the game. I mean, Woody had his moment, and by moment, I truly mean his 1 minute of fame before he got nerfed, and finally finding a place for the sheriff. He has decent abilities, but again, none of these guys really synergize. Buzz Lightyear, him and Woody a little bit have this synergy that can call each other, and I like the premise behind it. I just think there needs to be a little bit more. You know, the green toy soldiers have a passive with Woody, and he can give a lot to Buzz as a damage dealer. I like Woody as a support. I like him being kind of that Megara to Hercules. Amps up Buzz Lightyear, really gets him going. You know, the true best toy, if we're being real. Buzz Lightyear is the damage dealer, but Woody is that support to amplify him. As far as Woody's kit, you know, it's not bad. It's not half bad. You know, you've got Yeehaw, great ability. Plasma Goo, I guess, is fine as a basic. His passive's not bad, but Snake in My Boot, horrible, and his leadership might as well either delete it or, better yet, Woody is the leader of Andy's toys. Maybe amp this up a little bit and give it some more kind of leadership within the game. Doesn't have to be Downtown Hero. Just have him have some massive Toy Story synergy. No, not sure what this looks like either. I like the idea of them kind of giving each other turn meter or giving themselves ways to amplify each other up, like he already does with Buzz Lightyear. And for Buzz, you know, Claw's insane. You need some spells to really make him great. Outside of his maxed out, you know, T8, he's not going to be that good. So what can we do to kind of beef him up a little bit? I think Laser Blast could get a little bit of attention. The stun with 2 Infinity is solid. His passive is, I think, the biggest weak link that we could identify. Right now, this passive is going to assist other Toy Story teammates. It has a very low assist chance, and I think this could be a awesome passive. Like, if you had him assist with maybe Laser Blast, and he just keeps on doing the, you know, the laser thing, I don't know. I think that'd be pretty cool. This one, I'm having a tough time. I want them to have their own identity, and I'm gonna ask you guys, what should the Toy Story characters do? You know, what is their synergy they should share? Jessie completely needs to be reworked from the ground up. Just act like she never existed, because she pretty much doesn't since the beginning of the game. And I don't know. I want to hear y'all's ideas on this one. And I said y'all because I'm from Texas, but also it's Jessie. But want to see what you guys would do to rework them. Alrighty, Cozy Club. So for the next character, we've got the poster boy. The poster boy of DSA. It is Sorcerer's Apprentice Mickey. Man, this guy, I'm going to put up the tier list from like way back in the day, way long ago. You guys can see Mickey was amongst the best characters in the game when Kingdom was the way to go. Now, Kingdom has recycled and they're back at the top of the meta, but Mickey has been left in the dust, and that is mostly to blame with an outdated kit. Everyone that has come out since the beginning of the game has done his job, but even better. And overall, man, Mickey is like such a staple, especially the Sorcerer Mickey. Absolute staple within the game. Would love to see him get touched up. I think tier 9 is going to bring a much better Mickey. You guys have, which most haven't, really hard campaign mode, but the Ascension campaign, at the end of it, you do find out a max Mickey with some crazy ability, and you can just see the potential. But I would love to see all of these abilities stay the same, amp up that passive a ton, maybe adjust what both of the Whirlpool and the Magical Mops do. Outside of that, not a tricky rework here. He's great. He has a lot working for him. His stats aren't half bad either. But I want to see Mickey, the poster boy, right here. The other mouse is great. Make this one pretty solid as well. Put him with the Kingdom faction. You know, he's already in a faction that's going to work well. And I don't know, man. Altogether, this guy, say no more, right? He's a must refresh. Oh, yeah, and bring Chernobog to DSA. It has simply been the year of the villains, man. All of the villains have completely been reworked and retouched. And they forgot this behemoth of a bear in Mordu. Now, I do appreciate, and I know that not a lot of you guys have watched the movie Brave. Solid movie, and you're learning some of these characters, you know, for the first time within the game. Now, Mordu is not this menacing bear that you would expect throughout the whole movie. Not going to spoil it, but Mordu is such a cool character. Like, regardless if you've seen Brave, if you log into this game, you're like, oh, this guy's going to destroy. Like, he's got to be in the meta. No, Mordu just doesn't do anything well. He used to be this offensive tank. It was like the first of its kind. Take Beast, but like way less than that. And that was kind of his role. Nowadays, he lacks any type of identity, and Beast, obviously being the legendary, is going to get the preference every single time. Mordu, though, I feel like they could do something really cool with him. Max him out, and yes, he has some uses, but Right now, he's got a measly taunt, a decent stun, he can slow, but his passive Ancient Rage has so much potential, and probably a lot of you guys haven't even opened this passive up before, but what it does is after he drops to a health threshold, he's going to get like amplified heavily. And I really like this idea. Hades kind of shares it with him. Mordu is one of the only characters that can also be empowered. He's going to lose all of his harmful effects, gain empowered offense up and 1 counterattack, and he gets a little bit more offense, and it's kind of nice because it builds into his character well. But let's amp up these other 2 abilities, make him synergize a little bit as like the big, damage dealer / tank. Outside of King Candy and Oogie Boogie, there's not a lot of tank options for the faction of villains altogether, and I think Mordu could be that beast, but for the enemy faction, for the villain faction. Would love to see him just powerhouse swipe Mickey across the face. Like, I don't know. I think Mordu has a lot of potential, and he's like a must-add. There's a lot of characters like Horn King and others I could plug in here, but Mordu's got to take the role as the next villain that gets refreshed. We have saved the best for last. Did you think really that we're going to make this video? I've got Aladdin in the background. We obviously have got to make Aladdin and his crew within this video, guys. By far at the top of my list in the reworks that we desperately need within the game. Now, yeah, we've got a lot of Renaissance characters like the Lion King, and we had Aladdin here, but they're the most needed to get bumped up. I think Ariel and the, King Triton and Eric could also see a touch up, but Aladdin, man, Jafar seems like he's in a pretty good spot, especially finding his role with the Kingdom villains. But as for these other 3, I mean, Jasmine's finding a little bit more synergy with the Princess faction. Genie and Aladdin, they're just stuck by themselves as bad Kingdom characters. Another fun fact, because I seem to be full of them today, I'm pretty sure that they were the first faction and actually first characters that got a refresh. Like, they actually got a refresh. I think they need another and a big amount of one, because Genie got touched up a ton, Jasmine okay, Aladdin back then didn't get much of anything. But even if you look at Jasmine, with all that Princess synergy, still getting a lot of play these days. All of her abilities, like this acrobatic assault, all of her upgrades synergize with Aladdin. That's it. No damage upgrades, nothing. Synergy with Aladdin. But Aladdin, he hits like a wet paper towel. Like, he does nothing. He's not a prince. He's not even a street rat. Like, this guy probably has the most dust on my roster, as there's just nothing to get the job rolling. And I do get there's people that invested in him early on, and you can make him work, kind of, but it's not the Prince Ali. It's not the Aladdin that we know and love, and I think all of his abilities scream outdated. The carpet could get touched up in a massive way. Thief's Cure, I think instead of just healing him a little bit, maybe it cleanses him, entirely. Again, bring these characters up to scuff with the other new releases to make them worth using within the meta. He's in a great faction. He doesn't need an awful ton. One jump ahead, have that, nail somebody. Maybe add a passive to him to really bring evasion and distraction like the movie, and try to get people to, attack him and not his teammates, and really get him using that scimitar for some big time hits. Magic Carpet, pretty solid with it. Would love to see more synergy within the Aladdin trio, like what they're doing already, but add it to their passives and not their move upgrades. Now, as for Genie, I think we can all agree and say Genie is pretty much, for the most part, in everybody's top 5, right? Like, he's a top 5 Disney character, and he's been in a weird spot. I don't know how long, but Genie has always felt just shy of being good. Like, he does a lot of good things. He's that Swiss Army knife, but he's not quite there. His passives work okay. He's got a unique kit that I really like. Like, he doesn't need a lot done. Maybe bring in some more Aladdin synergy, have him fit in with them more, maybe some Kingdom synergy. But man, I like, outside of getting a, Jafar Genie, which don't get me down that road. I think we need more skins in general. And let me know down below if I should make a video about what skins I'd like to see in the game. Like, I don't know, Beast. We got to get the royal costume for him. But anyway, on Genie, basics good, hat tricks pretty solid. He's got a silence and a real firecracker. Just doesn't stand up with the other ones. So maybe give him a little bit of a buff, some synergy. Jafar seems like he's in a decent spot. Have the Aladdin heroes ready to roll in the game. I think it would be a much welcome and needed rework. I don't know. You would just do like a Disney Renaissance rework week and make everybody happy. I don't know. Maybe just rework all the Renaissance characters because they're the most liked. They could have done this with the ability upgrades, but I'd rather them just kind of build up the core base kits for these characters, as, you know, not a lot of people are going to be able to max and get up to tier 9 for finally a good Aladdin. Make them good at a base level. Make Genie solid, and Jasmine, give her a little bit more identity. Alrighty, Cozy Club. Well, that is going to be it for our character refreshes that I would like to see within the game. This time around, I try to give you guys what I'd like to see them do with those characters, and definitely one of those videos that I want to hear from you guys what you would do with these characters we mentioned today, or what characters did we leave out. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today and supporting as always. If you guys haven't, 50% of you guys have not subscribed, which seems to just stay at that number, so I don't think this is doing anything. But guys, just by clicking that red button, it helps support me as a content creator a ton. Hopefully you guys will be excited for some videos we've got the Sorcerer Stone refresh coming up soon, and a lot others. Let me know down below your thoughts, and until next time, stay cozy.